Hey everybody, Donnie here, Purton's Pro Painting Plus. We were cutting around a condo. It's for a friend of mine. Justin, this is for you, buddy. So anyway, what I wanted to do is do a real quick video on how to cut in against the door frame. What works best for us. What we've done and learned throughout the years we've been painting, and it tends to work better for us. It tends to produce and generate straighter lines without using tape. So what we do is we do something we call striking edges. Now when we get here, typically we'll go around, we'll paint all the ceilings first. Our next order of business, obviously, after we get done prepping, of course, that's when we begin the painting. But anyway, our next step would be to strike the edges of the door frames. Typically, if there's a lot of door frames and doors, we, sometimes we'll go ahead and go through and do all the frames and doors while we're at it. Here we did all the doors. We didn't do the frames. We did do the edges. We are going to be replacing the hardware on all the doors, so we just left them up. So that way when we pull them down, we'll hit the frames at that point, and it'll be a lot easier for us. However, the doors, we feel, are easier for us to paint while they're hanging, simply because they're out of the way. We don't have to wait to turn them over to paint the other side, and so on and so forth. But this, like I said, is to show you how we cut in door frames. Like I said, we go around and we strike the edges first. So when we're painting, I've made videos in the past where we say slap the brush on the side of the bucket, scrape the paint, just tap your brush off, and walk it into the corner, and then drag your brush. Just try to generate a straight line as possible. Here the woodwork and the walls are a little rough, so you kind of got to draw your own line. But as you can see, the lines, it's so much easier and so much more quick, in terms of timing, than it would be to go back and do the edges of the frames after which. Another thing that I like to do is, once I've painted a certain amount with a brush, is go back with my whiz roller and roll it as close to the frame as possible. That way we've got that same stippled roll look, nearly the entire wall, without having your roll up to your brush. And because it's hard to get as close with a larger roller. We typically use a 18 or a 14, even sometimes a 9 on smaller walls like this. We'll probably be using a 14 though, because this is a pretty good size unit and it's all going to be one color throughout. So again, you take your brush, tap the excess paint off on the sides, even kind of knock it off a little bit. That helps get all the excess off, and it won't build up any lines or any dams or bridges. And then you just drag it on down your frame. I typically like to go back and smooth it out as best as possible, because if there's any streaking, that tends to eliminate any of the streaking. So for those of you who are planning on painting your home, this is a good trick that you can use to generate good lines like a professional would, and have nice lines throughout your home against the door frames. We usually go back and paint the baseboards last, simply because it is a lot easier to paint the baseboards and cut those into the wall, as opposed to doing what we're doing now. Or a lot of times, if we're in a more high-end area, in a high-end home, say Indian Hills, for example, we would probably do the woodwork first, tape it off, caulk it, paint it, pull the tape while the caulking's still wet, as well as the paint, and then we would do the wall. Well, that's actually how we would do it. We'd paint the trim, paint the woodwork, then tape it off, paint the walls, and then pull the tape. And that right there is simply because that creates the straightest line you can imagine. And it's a really good trick. That's something I'll show you a little later on down the road. But for right now, this is how we do door frames. It's a rather effective, simple trick and it gives you a pretty good straight line. Again, this is Donnie, and that's how you do it like a pro. Till next time, happy painting.